Alright, hi, Csx Rule Book 2014, effective January 1st, 2014, Chapter 3, Movement of the Trains. 300, Authorized Train Speed. 301, Train speeds are authorized rules, special instruction, train documents, dispatcher message form, EC1 or signal indications. 302, authorization train speed must not exceed must not to be exceeded applies to the entire train unless otherwise specified. Must be observed even if the wayside are not displayed. Must be the lowest of the specified speed, and the conflicting exists between the authorized speed. 303. The following terms apply when the authorized train speed: limited speed, a speed not exceeding 45 miles an hour; medium speed, a speed not exceeding 30 miles an hour; a slow speed, not exceeding 15 miles an hour. Restricted speed limit permits the stopping of one half of the range of the vision is also permitted to stop the shortening of the train car on the track equipment of the obstruction stop signal and derail improperly lined switches. It permits the looking out of the broken rail is not exceeding 15 miles per hour. Train using other than main and signal track must have the speed of the permit stopping with one half of the range of the vision short of the train and the car on track equipment. Obstruction of the stop signal or derail and an improperly lined switcher must not exceed 25 miles an hour not on signal sidings, 15 miles an hour more than when moving to and from the main track operating through the hand operated switches not equipped with a signal, 10 miles an hour when not moving to and from the main track operating with the hand operated switches, 10 miles an hour on or other than main track signal tracks, 5 miles on designated locomotive service track of the car shop repair track areas. 305. The following speeds must not be exceeded: 70 miles an hour for the passenger train with the multi-level auto racks for the auto frame equipment, 59 miles an hour for the passenger train operating with the limits of the signal suspension against the control of the traffic, 49 miles an hour freight trains operating with the limits of signal suspension against the current of the traffic, 10 miles an hour for the train operating with the expected track, restricted speed for the 15 miles an hour for the train encountered with the unintended burning of fuses near the track unless the fuses is beyond the first rail of the adjacent track. 301. Control of the train speed. 3011. Crew members must notify the locomotive operator of any condition that requires for the train to reduce the speed of the stop not more than 5 miles, not less than 2 miles before reaching the condition. 3012. If the locomotive operator fails to control the train in accordance with the authorized speed, other crew members must take action to ensure the safety of the train. When the train speed exceeds the authorized speed less than 5 miles an hour, the crew must direct the locomotive operator to slow the train to the authorized speed. 5 miles or more, the crew member must direct the locomotive operator to stopping the train immediately with the report of the occurrence with the proper authority. The train must not exceed the until speed released. 3013. The making an emergency brake application to stop the train. Automatic braking system fails to respond. The expected locomotive operator fails to take the action when the train is required to stop, or C. The locomotive operator becomes incapacitated. 3014. On the descending designated special instructions steep grade, the train reaching 5 miles an hour above the authorized speed must be stopped using emergency brake application. After the train stops, the following actions must be taken: report the occurrence of the train. Dispatcher applies sufficient handbrakes to secure the train. That fully recharge the air brakes, making the minimum reduction. Visually inspect each of the car, determining that the brake shoes are against each of the wheel. Wait for the authorization of the supervisor before resuming the train movement. 3015. Reducing the train allow compliance with the conditions obstructed with the effective visibility of the sign, signal indication, wayside sign, and usually heavy rains of high water encountered. Operate with the restricted approach with the tunnels, culverts, bridges, and other affected locations. To report condition of the train to the train dispatcher. 3016. When heeding of the warning is issued, it does not apply to the equipment. The speed restriction is in effect between the hours of 1300 to 1900 hours. Applies to the permanent temporary track of the speed. The speed authorized by the signal indication requires the freight train to reduce the speed to 10 miles per hour below 30 miles per hour. Requires passenger trains to speed to 20 miles an hour, not below 40 miles an hour. 3017. When a flash flood warning is issued, the train must operate through the limits not exceeding 40 miles an hour for the leading end of the reach of the far limits. Usually heavy rain, high water than encountered with the limits approaching the bridge, culverts, other points likely to be affected with the restricted speed. Promptly notify the train dispatcher condition the effect of the safety movement of the trains on the track equipment. 3018. Train must comply with a verbal speed instruction from the engineering department and employees concerning track conditions, mechanical department employees concerning the equipment conditions. 302. Locations that must be approached prepared to stop. 3021. Unless the location is equipped with a signal, train must approach the end of the two or more main tracks, junction, drawbridges, railroad crossing at the grade prepare to stop until it has been visually determined that the switches, if equipped, are properly aligned and the track is clear. 303. The permanent and temporary track speeds. Permanent track speeds are designated special instructions that specify authorized speed, milepost limits of speed. 303. Temporary track speed restrictions are designated with the dispatcher message from Form EC1 and specifies authorized speed limits of the restriction if and wayside of the signs are displayed. 304. Wayside signs. Wayside signs are only displayed next to the effective track. The signal located with the first rail of the adjacent track does not track while the train is moving unless otherwise specified by the rule special instruction dispatcher message from the EC1. 3042 unless otherwise dispatcher from the EC1 and the wayside signal located at the beginning of the end of the restriction is indicated with the chart below. 1 control track next to the effective track. 2 control tracks. One of the signal location on the field side of the outside of the effective track. 3 or more control tracks. 2 fields of the effective track of the outside track next to the effective track and the middle track. 3043. Warning sign of the temporary track speed reductions and working limits are located with at least 2 miles, but not more than 2 or 1.5 miles from beginning with the restriction. With 3044, when working with the limits of the temporary speed restriction are the same, only one set of the warning signs will be displayed. 3045. Permanent reduced speeds that are not required of the following city ordinance. Permanent speeds are other than the main track. 3046. Notify the train dispatcher conditional stop located with the post and pointed designated with the dispatcher message on the form EC1. The signs working with may be placed up to 30 minutes before the limits effective as the long employee in charge to communicate with any of the train equipment approaching the limits. 3047. Trains encountering the wayside signs not covered with the dispatcher form or the EC1 instruction that are displayed next to the track on which the train is operating. The warning sign precedes the prepared stop. The 2 miles promptly reported the occurrence with the train dispatcher. If no conditional stop sign, temporarily reduce the speed and encounter 2 miles. The train must operate with restricted speed. The additional mile conditional stop sign. The stopping train immediately can contact the train dispatcher governor with his or her instruction. Temporary reduced speed sign. As soon as the sign is visible, reduce the train speed not to exceed 10 miles an hour. Report the occurrence of the train dispatcher unless released if the train dispatcher does not exceed 10 miles an hour until 2 miles after the leading end of the train passes the temporary reduced speed sign. At the rear of the train passes temporary end of the rear restriction sign. 305. Working limits on controlled tracks. Working limits are designated with the dispatcher from the form EC1 that specifies the date, time, and effect of mile posting to both ends of the working limits. Employee in charge of the track on which the working limits are in effect. 3052. The track must not enter or move inside with the working limits within 30 minutes prior to the effective time, unless the head of the end of the train can clear the limits prior to the effective time. The locomotive operator receives permission from the employee in charge to enter the limits. 3053. When working with the limits in an effective area, the locomotive operator must receive permission from the employee in charge before the training proceed. The pass point is designated. Make an initial movement within the limits. Proceed the location with the limits where the train stopped. Making a reverse movement within the limits. The employee in charge with the granting position for the train to proceed intermediate milepost while working with the limits, and permission to proceed beyond the intermediate milepost location must be through all the remaining limits. 3055. Permission for the employee in charge must include locomotive number of the employee in charge, name of the employee in charge, milepost location of the working limits of the train must be occupied and passed, the multiple track territory of the track on which the train may operate, and the special permitted within the limits must be one of the following: restricted at specified speed or authorized speed. 3056. When working limits include the multiple control tracks and single territory, the permission employs the charge and does not provide the information for the train routing. 3057. Special granted employee the charge does not reveal the employee from complying with the speed authorized and signal indication special instruction dispatcher message or form EC1 instruction. 3058. The train where that stops within the working limits must notify the employee in charge of the train has stopped and location of the head end and not make any further movement of the granted permission to the employee in charge. 3059. A work train assigned to perform the work of the employee in the charge within the working limits considered as part of the workforce. A work train working within the limits must make all the movements of the restricted speed only with directed as an employee in charge, not proceed outside of the working limits without the authority of the train dispatch. 3. Comply with the fixed signal indication not operate the switches control track without the permission of the train dispatcher employee in charge, and the training within the territory. TCW training release EC1 authority with operating with the working limits. The on-track authority with the employee in charge applies to the work train, not the occupant of the side of the Y of the train without the permission of the train dispatcher. 306 train coordination to establish 306.1 to establish protection under the train coordination. The road worker must physically conform that the train is stopped, conform with the train crew that it holds exclusive authority on the segment of the track, will not release the authority until notified the road worker that it is safe to do so, instruct the train crew only to make movements as directed, and the road worker notify the train crew when the train coordination is no longer required. 306.2, after notified the road worker on the train coordination protection has been established, the train crew must 1. Only make train movements as directed by the road worker, roadway worker. 2. Not release any of the authority segment of the track until notified with the road worker that it is safe to do so. 307 out of service limits. 307.1 track. 307.1 tracks may only be removed from the service when the rendering an inoperative storm or flood, unsafe rail movement that cannot be promptly restored to service required of the construction and work. 307.2 each end of the out of service limits must be defined while whole milepost, station name, other point defined in its dispatching system. 307.3 the train dispatcher must not issue the form EC1 authority until the track to be used is clear of the opposing conflicting movements that is not part of the working group. 2 is verified that not opposing the conflicting movement that has been authorized. 3 the control signals granting the access to the effective track in the stop position and blocking the devices have been applied to the switches and signals in this grant access that's effective if the track is required. 307.4 the train dispatcher must not display signals to proceed, not granting the authority to move in and out of the service limits until the dispatcher message on the form EC1 instruction has been issued. 307.5 when out service limits are in effect, the locomotive operator must receive the permission from the employee in charge before the train proceeds past the point of designation, makes initial movement within the limits, or makes a reverse movement within the limits. 307.6 movements without a service must movements within the out-of-service limits must be made only directly by the employee in charge and not exceed the restricted speed, not proceed outside the limits without the authority of the train dispatcher, comply with the fixed signal indications, not operate the switches without the permission of the train dispatcher or employee in charge. The TWC territory releases EC1 authority while operating within the limits of the on-track authority with the employee in charge applies to the train within the limits. 308 train emergency. When training with the movement controlled with the track adjacent to the control track has the emergency for the application for the air brakes, the train crew must immediately initiate the emergency radio transmission on the proper operating channel, notify the train dispatcher using the emergency tone, providing the protection to the other trains if required, perform a required inspection when permitted to proceed the operating train speed and not exceed 10 miles an hour from the one train length. 308.2 the crew of the train stop at the emergency application with air brakes must give the following information to the train dispatcher: the train identification, location of the head and the rear of the after the train is stopped, the milepost 1 mile behind the rear of the train when emergency application began, the presence of the hazardous material, status of the key train situation is known, such as injuries, damages, or other petition information present, adjacent controlled tracks. The crew member of the train stop at the emergency must provide with the warning of the adjacent controlled track of the train dispatcher cannot maintain a warning until it has been determined that the adjacent control tracks are not obstructed or relieved by the train dispatcher. 308.4 when notified that the train has stopped at the emergency application of the air brakes, the train dispatcher must inform the train of any of the adjacent controlled tracks that cannot be protected, but the train dispatcher not authorize the train adjacent controlled tracks to pass out until it's determined that the train emergency does not contain the hazardous materials and cars. All the hazardous material cars have been inspected and found to be safe. Advise the crew of the train stopped at the emergency of the movements have been authorized to pass the adjacent control track. Grant permission to the train adjacent control tracks to pass the train emergency by the issuing of the form EC1 instructing the passing train of the crew to operate with restriction speed. 308.5 the key trains may proceed a walking inspection of the entire of the train is performed at stop at the location where it is not possible to inspect the train safely. If it's safe to do so, the train may be provided with exceeding 5 miles per hour near the place the inspection can be performed. The inspection reveals if it's safe to proceed. 3086. When there are adjacent tracks, the train must proceed after the walking inspection of the entire train is performed to ensure that no condition of the walking would endanger the train or the train moved to the on adjacent tracks. Roll by inspection exceeding 10 miles an hour may be performed. The crew member or other qualified employee located on the ground, provided with the following conditions are met: the train is not a key train. The train to the track adjacent to the train is an emergency. Is not occupied. The train brake is released. The brake pipe pressure is restored on the rear end of the train. A visual inspection of the head end does not indicate the unsafe conditions. 3087. When there are no adjacent trains, the train stops. The emergency application for the air brakes must not proceed to walk until walking inspection of the entire train is performed unless the following conditions are met. The train is not a key train. The train brake releases. The brake pipe pressure is restored to the rear of the train. The visual inspection of the head end does not indicate the unsafe conditions. 3088. Performing the inspection of the train was stopped in the emergency application of the air brakes, verifying that no cars are derailed, no loaders have been shifted, track structure appears to be undamaged, no conditions exist to prevent safe movement. Train dispatcher is informed of the result of the inspection. 308. When the walking inspection reveals a defect that can be repaired, the employer making the inspection roll by the inspection not exceeding 10 miles per hour may be performed to the remaining portion of the train by an employee on the ground after the following conditions are met. The train is not a key train. The train is adjacent to the train. Emergency is not occupied. The train brake releases. The brake pipe pressure is restored at the rear of the train. The visual inspection does not indicate the unsafe condition. 3810. If an inspection reveals derailment or damage or any condition that affects the safe movement of the train, the stop of the movement, performing the rolling inspection, inform the train dispatcher, perform the walking inspection of the remaining portion if to do so. 30811. All trains operating with a controlled track of the receiving notification of the train of the emergency and adjacent must comply with the following. A train moving in the same direction as the train emergency must 1. Reduce the restricted speed before reaching the purported location. 2. Stop before the passing of the rear of the training emergency. 3. Not proceed with the pass of the train emergency until the permission is received from the train dispatcher. B. A train is the opposite direction of the train in the emergency. Stop before the passing of the head end of the train of the emergency using the good train handling unless the conditions require the emergency brake application. Not proceed with the pass of the train emergency until the permission is received from the train dispatcher. 30812. Train have permission of the train dispatcher to pass to stop the emergency and the adjacent must proceed the restricted speed of the leading end of the as past farthest end of the stop train. 309. Protecting passenger train station stops. Trains 3091. Train operating on the main signal line tracks must not be passed between the station platform and a passenger train discharge receiving passenger for the station platform. 3092. When it is not known that the main track of the signal track of the passenger train in the station platform, the passenger must not enter the station unless confirmation is received from the train dispatcher. Protection passenger has been provided. The adjacent track is out of service. The train dispatcher must not provide confirmation of the protection that has been provided until it has been determined that all trains approaching the station have been contacted, advised, and how to proceed and ensure the proper passenger safety. 2. The signals governing entrance to the track are placed in the stop position. Blocking devices are applied. 310. Flagged work location of train or train on-track equipment must approach the working location or comply with the instructions of the flagman. When required, special instructions dispatcher messenger or form EC1. When the crew of the train 310.2. When the crew of the train operated with the track equipment is unable to establish the communication with the designated flagman. 1. Stop short of the designated limits. Inform the train dispatcher of the occurrence. 2. Provide the warning to any of the workers present before proceeding. 3. Sound the horn of the too long before proceeding. 4. Proceed at restricted speed until the head end of the train reaches the far limits. 311. Railroad crossing at the grade. 311.1. Railroad crossing at the grade equipped with the stop signs. The train must not pass the stop sign. Must remain clear of the crossing until A. Special instructions governing the use of the crossing have been met. B. Given a procedure signal from the flagman is present. And C. If there's no conflicting movement, it is safe to do so. 311.2. Do not leave equipment standing or unattended between opposing signals of the railway crossing grade. Derails to protect the railway crossing at the grade. 312. Highway railway crossing at the grade. If equipment is standing or will be left at the highway railway crossing grade, it is necessary to separate the train operating with the highway crossing grade. Protection must be provided with the vehicle, pedestrian traffic unless the equipment is left in a minimum of 200 feet from the crossing. The 312 312.2. Unnecessary operation of automatic grade crossing warning devices prohibited unless required by the operating conditions. The stop train and the standing equipment must remain clear of the crossing in island and circuit until the train dispatcher is notified and have been performed. Information concerning the approaching trains. Crew members provided with the protection of the adjacent tracks. 12.3 highway railway crossings equipped with a consistent warning time. The detectors trains must not increase the speed between beginning of the approach circuit and crossing. They have stopped the operating within 3 miles per hour and must not occupy the crossing until the warning device has been activated at least 20 seconds. If the equipment is crossing the gates are fully lowered in position. 312. When operating the conditions require manual stopping, the automatic grade crossing of the warning device employees must 1. Notify the train dispatcher obtain the information concerning with the approaching trains prior to the operating with the manual stop devices. 2. Comply with the special instructions posted with the device. 3. Not operate with the manual stop if the train is occupying the approaching crossing. 4. Immediately notify the train dispatcher manual stop if it does not function properly. 5. Provide protection with the affected adjacent tracks and comply with the posted instruction governing adjacent tracks. 6. Not make movements other than crossing unless the protection is provided with the device is reactivated with the gates if equipped in the fully lowered position. 312.5. If accidents occur with the highway railway crossing grade, and employees immediately report the incident to the train dispatcher using the emergency channel. Observe and report the highway railway crossing and warning devices. 312.6. When the motorist failed to comply with the crossing warnings, record vehicle identification number, the identifying information. Promptly report school buses, vehicles carrying dangerous hazardous materials to the train dispatcher. When safe to do so, report the motorist to the Public Safety Coordination Center at 1-800-232-0144. 313. Malfunction of highway railway crossing grade warning system. 313.1. The designated employee who received the report of the malfunction highway crossing of the grade warning system must immediately take action. 1. To determine the type of the malfunction. 2. Provide appropriate alternate warning for the crossing. 3. Notify all the trains, including those of the railroad location, the type of the malfunction before the train reaches the location. Notify that the local law enforcement agency has jurisdiction for the crossing. 313.12. The CSX Signal Department is responsible for maintaining the records malfunction highway railway crossing grade warning system. The following information is required but not included in the record. Location of the crossing to include the highway name of the AAR crossing inventory number, the time and date of the receipt of the reported malfunction, action taken by the CSS prior to the crossing being repaired, and time of the date repair. 314. Provided protection at the highway railway crossing at the grade of the train dispatcher message from the form EC1, the instruction indicating that the malfunction automatic warning devices highway railway crossing graded must comply with the chart below. Special instructions from the dispatcher or the form EC1 indicates no flaggers, no police officers. Communication can be established with flaggers or police officers. Activation failure, stop and protect crossing from the ground, or false or partial activation proceed. The caution not to exceed 15 miles an hour. Special instruction dispatcher message in form EC1 indicates the flagger for only one direction of the traffic, communicating the established conforming the protection that has been provided, but the activation of the failure proceeds with caution not to exceed 50 miles an hour, and also in false and partial activation proceed caution not to exceed 50 miles an hour. Special instruction dispatcher message or form at EC1 indicates the flaggers of each of the direction police officers present in the communication is established, informing that the protection has been provided, the activation failure, authorized speed, and false and partial activation authorized speed. 314.2. When protecting a crew member from the ground is required for the highway rail crossing at the grade. Stop at the moment before following the crossing. Position the crew member appropriately equipped with the flag man on the ground to stop the vehicular or pedestrian traffic. Place a burning fuse on each side of the crossing. The automatic warning device is non-functional properly. When notified the dispatcher from the EC1 or the activation failure on making of the movements is directed by the person provided with the protection. Sound the required locomotive with the horn bell signal even if the crossing is located inside a quiet zone. Maintain the protection until the lead of the end of the movement of the covers of the crossing. 314.3. The employee responsible for providing protection for the ground of the highway railway crossing of the grade must not be given the signal to proceed the pedestrian vehicle traffic unless the train movements are stopped. There is no train movement approaching the crossing. A signal to proceed with the train unless the vehicle pedestrian track is stopped. The handling signals instructions of the train to proceed the manner and the misunderstand the applied vehicle and pedestrian traffic. The 314.4 automatic warning device of the highway railway crossing the grade is not functional properly with the flashing lights are not actuated within the last 20 seconds prior to the ending of the movement, reaching or crossing gates, or if equipped are not fully lowered in position with the lead ending of the movement, reaching the crossing. 314.5. Before the equipment is shoved and kicked or locomotive consistent of the back over the highway, railway, the pedestrian rail crossing at the grade, protection by a crew member from the ground is required unless one of the following conditions are met. 1A. The crossing of the pedestrian crossing inside of the confines of the railroad yard. Crossing is equipped with a flashing light and no gates that require properly is equipped with the crossbucks and be clearly seen that no traffic is stopped at or approaching the crossing equipment is shoved at the speed not exceed 10 miles an hour, or crossing is equipped with the functional gates that are fully lower position. 314.6. If the locomotive engaged with the switching operation lead out over the public highway railway crossing grade, protection with the crew member of the ground is required with the following conditions is met. Crossing have been made acceptable pedestrian vehicle traffic. The crossing of equipped the properly functional automatic warning device that has been activated with at least 20 seconds, or a crew member has unobstructed view of the approaching pedestrian vehicle traffic, and movement over the crossing does not exceed 10 miles an hour. 314.7. A train operating with restricted speed on the controlled track must approach the highway railway crossing at the grade equipped with the automatic warning device. 1. Prepare to stop. Determine the device of the function. 2. Proceed. The crew member provides the protection to the vehicle pedestrian traffic from the ground. The device is not functioning. 314.8. If the train stops on the delay of within 4,000 feet of the highway railway crossing equipped with the automatic warning device, the train must approach the crossing, prepare to stop, and determine if the device of the function sufficient to the time provided with the allowed vehicle and pedestrian traffic to stop. Notice that the crew member provides protection of the vehicle, pedestrian traffic from the ground, and the device is not functioning. 314.9. When two or more tracks cross the railway crossing at the grade, protected with only one set of the automatic warning device, the train approaching the crossing of the traffic not equipped with the circuits have activated the warning devices. 1. Stop before leading end of the fouls in the crossing, and 2. Not proceed the crossing over until the crew member has been provided protection from the ground. This page is intentionally left blank, and we're moving on to Chapter 4, Utility Employee Switching and Shoving Securement.